Good morning. This is Eric Sheehan with OTT. Today's webinar, led by Michael Hoffman, Channel Sales Manager with Jet Reports. Michael will provide us with an in-depth look at Jet Reports, an Excel-based alternative to Management Reporter. What we're going to cover today are some of the questions that you all may have. What is the future of Management Reporter? What does this mean to my investment that I've made in Management Reporter? And what are my options? These are all very good questions that we will answer here for you today. So here's the Management Reporter statement from Microsoft. Management Reporter team has decided to not make major enhancements for GP and SL, which is Solomon. It will continue to be available. So if Management Reporter works for your needs, it's still a solid solution that will be supported. Any pains that you have experienced with Management Reporter will not be corrected. That's a direct message from Pam Mizulak, the Dynamics GP product manager. The next piece is your investment Management Reporter. So all existing customers' investments are still safe. Management Reporter will not be discontinued in the short term, but it will not be evolving as a financial reporting tool for Dynamics GP. It will continue to be supported, and it will also ship with future releases of Dynamics GP. Large features like going fully to the cloud and other major enhancements will not be made to the product. So what are the options? A Dynamics GP MVP states that financial reporting ought to be managed with an Excel-based client. There are options for Excel-based financial reporting tools that integrate out of the box with Dynamics GP. And today, one of those that we are going to explore is a solution called Jet Reports. So with us today, I have Michael Hoffman, who's the Channel Sales Manager at Jet Reports. And I'm going to welcome Michael to the conversation. And then he will give you an overview of the new solution. So one moment, and I'm going to switch Michael to the presenter, and we will turn this presentation over to him.
Perfect. Thank you, Eric. Let me go ahead and show my screen here. Can you see that okay? Should just be our web page. Perfect. Okay, great. So yeah, that was a great introduction, and thanks everybody for being here. Thanks, Eric, for inviting me in to partner with you guys and kind of offering some alternatives to maybe what someone's doing with Management Reporter today. In short, you know, the title kind of says it all. We're an Excel-based financial and analytics tool. Really, what's kind of great about that, in short, is it's the most widely used business application on the planet, right? And so as you explore Jet or choose to learn more about Jet, just know you already know half the tool. If you know Excel, if you're in finance or accounting and you've been kind of living in Excel most of your career, all of that knowledge transfers directly over. Nothing about Excel changes. So the intent of today is to really kind of be in a demo most of the time, showing you basically what the solution provides. Two important pieces for you to take away before I dive into the examples, and I won't be long-winded, I promise. One is Jet Reports is the leading solutions provider for the entire Microsoft Dynamics suite, which is why we've been chosen to partner with them. They actually asked us to create an alternative for Dynamics GP, and we delivered, right? And so there is a basic version of Jet that's available on our website. I'll show you how to use that a little bit. And so that's important for you because, again, it's all about you've made an investment into a Dynamics platform. And that's the reason why looking at Jet makes so much sense, is that your investment's safe with us. We've been around since 2002. We have 12,000 customers, actually 30,000 downloads of the basic kind of free version of Jet. So there's a lot of very, very happy people on a Dynamics platform using Jet. So your investment's safe with us. We have a strong roadmap into the future with them, into the cloud and beyond, obviously. The second piece that is important for you to kind of take away from who we are is we're 100% driven by customer feedback. Everything that we do, all of the major feature enhancements, basically any and everything that we add to the product comes directly from customer feedback. So just know there's tons of avenues for support over here. Eric and his team are a great place to go to learn more about Jet initially, and just know that there's tons of avenues for support available to you. So in short, really, why is that important? You should just never feel lost with our tools. If you're exploring and wanting to learn more, just know that's kind of our mantra. You should just never feel lost. So I'm going to start off today really by building a report from scratch. Excuse me, the Jet feature in Excel is really just an add-in, right? So we're bolting into Excel. What we're doing then is we're pointing to our Dynamics database. In this case, we're using GP as an example, but we can absolutely work with SL, Nav, and no matter what you're on, we work with it. And then you also have a list of whatever companies you have in your database. And so just know the add-in is really just meant to simplify connecting to that data source, and then also giving you a myriad of different ways to pull data into Excel in a refreshable format. So some of you, if not all of you on the call, are familiar with what we would call refreshable reports. What I'm going to show you is what makes Jet so different is really the user interface. And the reason why people like it so much is just very straightforward. You don't have to know SQL or any kind of technical kind of code to actually write a report. And I'm going to start off by using the GL function, which is included in all of our products, including the out-of-the-box kind of basic version for Dynamics. But really all it is just fast financials. It's just a quick way to access financial information. And the reason people like it, again, it's just straightforward. I'm building a report right now that's actually going to give me a variance between balance and budget. And I'm going to break it out by, we'll call my segment one department. But yours could be different. It could be, you could have 6 segments. I only have 3. So I'm going to use 1. But really the user interface, the first question it's asking is where. And all that's simply saying is, where would I like the information returned? You're familiar, if you're on Management Reporter today, with those rows and columns, right? In our case, I'm going to use a sheet replicator and basically create a new tab for each one of my departments. And you can see all of your segments would be listed there in that dropdown. But I'm done in that case. I don't know why it does that sometimes. And then right below this is I request basically what I'd like to see by department. So I'll do account number, name, balance, budget, and the variance. And again, same set of questions, right? It says, where would you like the information returned? In this case, I actually want to have everything returned in a row. I want this row to replicate down the worksheet. That's basically what I'm saying. And what would I like to see in this particular column is all of my accounts. Now, in any report that you do, you're always going to have access to all of your accounts. So if you're creating custom reports, or maybe more of an income statement or balance sheet, which we'll look at here in a moment, they're all always going to be available to you. And these operators down here at the bottom, they're consistent throughout the product. So what that means is as you learn them, you're not having to, learn a different kind of, keyword or something additional. It's consistent throughout no matter what kind of report you're building. In our case, I'm not going to pick from this list because I want all of them within each individual department. So segment 1 again stands for department in this report, and instead of picking from that list, I get to take advantage of being in Excel and actually cell reference right up there. So basically what we said is, you know, Jet, please look here, whatever department you see, pull all the accounts from that in a row format. And now the rest becomes really easy. I actually can go skip where I'm in the same row, and I can just say, what do I want to see is the account name for which account. Oh, this one right here. Same thing with balance. What would I like to see is the balance for which account. Well, this one right here. And the reason we're doing this cell referencing is because now I'm writing basically kind of one line of logic, and it's going to replicate the entire report for me. You can include unposted activity as well. This defaults to false, but you can set it to true. And then also, if you have multiple companies, they would be listed right here. So we'll go ahead and click OK on that. I'm going to drag this function over because it's actually the exact same, and go ahead and change the what from balance to budget. And then all of the budgets that you may have stored inside of Dynamics GP or SL would live here. Okay. So at this point, we're basically done. I'm going to use Excel basically to clean this up a little bit. And so, again, that's kind of the whole idea, is we use Excel to make it look the way that we want. Typically, when I come across a management reporter user, they're taking their information that's being ran inside of management reporter, and then they're placing it in Excel to get the formatting. To that, we said, you know, why not start there? And so that's really what it's designed to do, is once you have the formatting down, you could change the date range, you could change really almost anything about this report without having to go into a separate tool. And so I just click run this report, please. And that's going to go to the live database and then return the information back in the format that I've requested. So we should see like our 100, 200, 300, so on and so forth, all broken out on an individual tab for me, which we do. And so you can see the formatting held consistent throughout. A couple of things that I want to show as we, kind of move through these examples. Really, this was meant to give you a high-level understanding of what the GL is, but a couple of things that I want to show. One is you could easily just come in here and change the date range, right? If your information's updated. And you can also add what are called conditional hides to hide the values that don't have balance, budget, variance. I know that's something we get asked for a lot is in Management Reporter. It's just giving me everything. You can go in there and actually hide some of those rows, but it's really just dependent on absolute values, so zeros or something. In Excel, I can say, show me something that has a variance, greater than 1,000 or something like that. So just know there's a lot of flexibility when you're actually in Excel. But yeah, that's kind of the long and short of the GL function. Pretty straightforward. One thing I want to clarify before we keep moving through some other examples, there are two types of users in Jet, right? So there's a designer and then there's a viewer. And so what a designer does is really what I just did. They choose what's included in a report. They choose if we want to be able to change date range or company or something like that. And then a viewer does kind of what I did when I ran the report, right? They just click run, they have the information returned to them, and they're presented with those options the designer built in. So now the viewer can change the date range in this case. We'll see some examples of where you can change a lot more than just that. But in short, that's kind of the different types of users. There's obviously an Excel user as well. That person typically lives outside of your network, so they don't really have what I would call like access to the data, but you can still use Excel to return the information and then share it in any format that you can share an Excel file. So really, that's kind of what it does in short with the GL. The next example that I want to show is the balance sheet and income statement. Really, what an income statement can be is a lot of different things to a lot of different companies, but in short, it's really about the formatting, because that's kind of the difficult part. Is how do I want it to look? What do I want to actually include? In this case, we have two different examples. We have one that's actually built off of account categories. So for anybody on the call who is using account categories, you can absolutely use those with Jet. On the balance sheet, we've actually used specific account strings, and I'll show you how you could customize something like this. Reports like these with Jet actually do come out of the box. And so just know a lot of the financials and things like maybe AR aging report or some HR information that I want kind of out of the box day one, that's included with Jet. So just know you're going to get a lot of this stuff day one. But to show you what it looks like when you're, you have the formatting, right? How you want the report to look. How do you use the GL? Pretty straightforward again. Where do I want the information? I want it in the cell. What would I like to see? In this case, I want to see the balance only. And so I'm actually going to lock in the row. So now when I move this over, it'll automatically see budget. But as you can see, we're hiding this row from the viewer. They're only going to see actuals to budget, but we know in the database it's called balance. So that's why we're doing the cell referencing in that case. Here, instead of picking an account, I'm actually going to grab the account category. And again, I'm going to actually lock in the column, so it can do the kind of heavy lifting for me. And then for the periods, I'm just going to grab both periods the same, starting and ending period. You don't really need a starting period there, but I put it in there. And then again, it's just as easy if you wanted to do multi-company consolidation, as you'll see here in a second, if you wanted different company names and maybe you replicate those columns out. But in short, that's all that we had to do. Now I get to drag this basically across the workbook. So now just copy, paste all the way down. And then modifying this is just as easy as we saw earlier. I mean, if I wanted to change the date range, right? Now we're looking at October, or maybe I want to change the account category. Now it's updating all of this for me. So lots and lots of flexibility. It's really, once you have a report built, you can again modify it however you'd like. Balance sheet, same idea. If we look into the way this formula was built, it's very straightforward. We said, again, in this cell, give me the balance of, well, we cell reference the account again, and then same idea with the period. Now, in some of the reports that you're building or wanting to modify as you start creating a library, I mean, this is only a 2-year roll. Most companies do, 3, maybe 5 type analysis, 5 years. So I can just copy this entire column, paste it over here, and change the year or the month. It's up to you. And it automatically pulls that information in for me. So just know, again, kind of that those are some of the overarching advantages to being in Excel, is the flexibility that's there. Now, I do want to show you this multi-company consolidation because it's available, right? And it's just really a matter of preference. You can include these two in the same column. You can use Excel to consolidate them. It's totally up to you. But as you've seen, basically we've been able to slice and dice information however we've seen fit. We can have companies or departments on their own tab. They can have their own columns. They can have their own sheets. It's really kind of up to you on the formatting. And then the way that the options are built in this particular report, just like some of the others, is when I run this, now the viewer can change the date range. So instead of me as the controller, or in some cases the CFO, having to be responsible to change the date range or rerun a report for somebody, they actually have self-service reporting. So once they have this, whether you share it directly in Excel or you share it via our hub, our web portal, either way is totally fine, but it basically gives them access to self-service reporting, which is great. So a lot of the time spent typically in running or vetting kind of, do they have the right reports or the right information, can be really streamlined when you start using a refreshable reporting tool like Jet. Okay. Another example I want to take a look at real quick. This is converted management reporter reports. Okay. So this again is another way to look at reports, where we have, instead of different companies on each tab, we have like basically a packet of reports that I could send to RFA or someone who's actually managing multiple locations or multiple managers, and they need to see basically a lot of information within maybe one report to simplify it for them, because sometimes it is a little too technical for them, so we'll simplify it. In a typical management reporter report, this packet, basically there's two things that I can change once I have the tree in place. One's the year and the other's the period. Okay. And so what's great about Jet is, yeah, I mean, you can still change the period and the year, but now because of the way I've built this information in, I have basically this master report that when I go to run, I can actually change the company, the department, the location, any of the account segment codes that you wanted to build in. You can also define whether or not you want to be looking by period or by year or by specific date. It's totally up to you, but this is basically what we did very early on when Microsoft came and asked us to kind of assist with the community, potentially moving away from something like a management reporter or FRX. We went ahead and converted a bunch of reports just to show people that, yeah, it doesn't matter what you're doing today, whether you're doing just financials or you're wanting to evaluate subledger detail, you're wanting to create sales reports, it doesn't matter. We read all of the dynamics data. So it's much more than just kind of a financial reporting tool, but this is where we wanted to start because this is very important. We did learn some things, some rigidity about management reporter, but in short, I mean, anything you're doing today, Jet's going to be able to assist with. So, so those are kind of the financial examples that I wanted to show. One thing that I do also want to touch on is like a real life example. So this is where I've seen a lot of people, what they're asking for is I want to see consolidation, and then I want it broken out by specific region, right? And so this again is basically another way to slice and dice your account segment codes. It's not required for you to have it in this format. We've shown a lot of different ways to do it, but this is how the company we were working with wanted to see it. They wanted to have everything consolidated in basically a roll-up, be able to drill back into this data, and then also have it broken out in this very specific way. And then to show you kind of what the drill down looks like real quick, because I know that's important, I'll just click on this sales number. And so this will bring us all the way back to journal entry levels. There's actually even ways to link documents in the specific drill down. But in this case, depending on what it is, it'll look different, but it will actually get you all the way back to, what were the originating documents? How is it tagged? right? You know, a lot of times what you're trying to evaluate is what type of transaction was this? How do I evaluate that? So you can actually take the description, maybe this is all sales, but if there's different descriptions, right? Or since it's sales, maybe we want to see how, you know, who our top customers are, and I can create like a little roll up in here and then even export it back to Excel, right? Sometimes we want to do additional analysis on this drill down. Just that simple. You just export it back to Excel. And one thing to take note of too, we're not inside of GP right now. Okay, and so what that means is, as a viewer, I can actually access this transactional detail without necessarily having a writing access to the database. So pretty big advantage, and all of our products come with unlimited viewers. We understand this is a tool meant to disseminate information, and so we're not really in the business of locking that down, right? We just want to make it easy. And so that's kind of a big value add for anyone using a Dynamics product. Okay, so a couple of quick things. We touched on drill down. I want to touch on distribution and management of these reports a little bit before I kind of show any more examples. I think those are very important, right? Just like the drill down is, you know, I have these reports and I have them set up a specific way. What are my options for distributing reports? Because that's really, in a lot of cases, that's kind of where the time stamp is, right? Like that's where I'm spending so much of my time running and sharing and managing and trying to get this information out to people. So 2 ways you can manage this effectively. One is the automated scheduler. And so basically what this does is it allows me to automate the distribution of these reports on a set schedule. So if I know that I need to reconcile like a week or 2 before we're closing, right? I can actually have these set to run and distribute to my inbox, so email, shared network folder, or anywhere for that matter, even if you want to have it in your Excel refreshable section. You know, you can say every week I want to see this at a certain day and time. You can choose to send it via email, and then you can also choose the output. So whether it is something internal like reconciliation, or it's actually more of a outward facing purpose where I want to send this to a board, the board doesn't want Excel, they want a PDF, all of them are options. So that is basically one way that we have included in Jet to make it more effective in terms of sharing. The other way of kind of sharing these reports, which is very fastly growing in popularity, and it's called the web portal, but really what it is, it's a full-on report management system. Basically, when I log into the web portal, what I do is I log in with my credentials, and it basically acts as a hub for all of my data. So now user permissions are managed more effectively. I have the ability to have an audit trail. So every time a report is ran, a copy of this is stored. And I also don't have to sift through a whole bunch of folders to find the most, you know, basic kind of report. Basically, I see a personalized view to me. So I don't see sales reports if I'm not on the sales team, or I don't see inventory reports if I'm on the HR team. There's really kind of the information overload goes away. You just see what's been shared with you. You can hop in here. You can actually run this report in the web if you want, or you can download it. Some people still prefer to download the reports, which is fine. But basically, it's kind of up to you. So if I open up any of these reports, this is kind of a basic trial balance. When I click run, all of the options that I built in as the designer into Excel remain. So the reason this is important for you as someone who's managing the process, typically when you're sending a new report or numbers change, the burden is on you to get them a new copy of this report. Now, when you're leveraging the web portal, when your data changes within GP, this report will automatically reflect that change. You don't have to go in and manipulate the report. You don't have to reformat it. You don't have to change it. So you really start getting some time back. And also, you stop getting so many requests for people saying, where's my report? Well, it's right here. You just log into the web portal and run it. It's there always. So sometimes also a question will come up about kind of month-end closing, right? Like, how do I make sure before something's closed, right, that they're not looking at preliminary numbers or something like that? Just know there's a way to do that. We basically just prevent them from being able to run the current month or the previous month, depending on where you're at in your closing process. So just know that's there. And then if I also, as the owner of this report, click on the details, this is where I can share. And this automatically connects into the security you have. So whether it's Active Directory or you're potentially using something else, it ties into that. So you can share with users or groups of users right here. This is where you kind of see that audit trail. You can see here, I can open any of these reports anytime that they were ran. Okay, this is a huge advantage to managing your reports in the web portal. And then there's also full-on version control. So if you're collaborating or you're sharing reports or you're building different iterations or different versions, just know, never be afraid to explore, because you can always go back and revert to previous versions. The big advantage for you, obviously, is going to be the freedom, right? Like, there's much less risk in terms of how you're customizing a report, or should I be making this change? You have this great safety net behind you where, you know, if something doesn't look right or you don't want to use that version, you can just go back to what you were using before and try something else in the future. So just know, a huge advantage there. The scheduler for the web portal, it basically operates the exact same way as what I'd shown you before. The difference is when the report is ran, it can be placed in the web portal or it can be placed in a user's email. I mean, that's really the only difference, is you can have it already ran sitting in the web portal. I see a lot of people kind of take advantage of the web portal for a ton of different reasons, but the scheduler is really nice to have. Some of you may be wondering what this dashboards tab is. That is unlocked with a solution called Jet Enterprise, which I'll get into here in a little bit. Basically, it's our analytic tool that allows you to, you know, connect to multiple data sources, pull in information from maybe some third-party applications, or really just make reporting faster in general. And so we'll explore that here in a second. But the last thing I wanted to show you, really kind of in the Excel refreshable arena, is a on-the-fly ad hoc report. And the reason I want to show this is I really want people to know that you can build more than just financials with Jet. So what this is doing, and this may be a little more technical than for some people that are on the call, but in short, it really is a fantastic user interface that reads every single table, field, and view inside of GP or SL, any Dynamics product for that matter. I'm connected to GP, that's why I keep saying that. But if you're using, like, I get questions all the time about analytical accounting, right? Here's all the views that come out of the box with analytical accounting for GP. But just know, again, it's reading everything. So if I go down to the word Jet, we'll see our custom views, and really all a view is just meant to make reporting easier. That's all it is. It just takes information, combines it in a way, and just makes it easier. So we've done that. These come out of the box with Jet. They're all available to you. But if you have questions about, you know, what's an address code, you can actually drill into the data before you pull it into a report. So anyone who's using like a smart list builder today, or some sort of other, ad hoc reporting tool. A lot of times it's tough to really know intimately exactly what's in every single field. There's a lot of data. So it's great to be able to drill into it ahead of time to favorite. Like I've favorited this table. It's not breakthrough technology by any means, but it can help. And the ability to actually modify these reports on the fly are very, very useful. Even if there's someone who does have a technical background, I mean, you can definitely appreciate the fact you're not have to go into your standard kind of SQL queries to get this stuff. So I'm just going to click on some information. I'll just grab customer information, where they're located, and the balance on their account. And so I'll just drag and drop this into Excel. I don't have to do anything further to this report. I can just run it, and it gives me the balance that they have, right, of every single customer. It gave me exactly what I wanted. And it's important to note here, I'm not stuck in a pivot table. So if I wanted to, add some cool things to this, like maybe I want to say we're projecting growth in the area of kind of 8% in the next month or so. So I want to see what that looks like. And I'm going to be sharing this with an executive team. So instead of just giving them numbers and trying to explain the numbers, I actually want it to pop. I want to create a graph, something that kind of catches their attention. And I'm actually going to be sharing this with someone who manages a specific region. So instead of pulling every single state, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to filter on the region. So give me the state, and this will show the fields within that table. So I'll grab maybe just the people who manage all the states that start an I or something. And then he's only concerned, or he or she is only concerned with balances over like 5,000. Okay, and then you could add your graph in here because it's Excel, right? We'll just do something basic so you can get the gist of it. Okay, so we'll run this report, and then now we have this nice clean report. I'd probably take off the grid lines because I'm not a huge fan of those when I have a graph, and then like a company logo or something like that, and there you have it. This nice visual, refreshable report right in Excel, and it clearly does not take any technical know-how. I mean, we just basically knew we wanted the balances of our customers. Okay. So with that being said, I'm going to transition over to what we would call kind of an analytics solution. And again, just as a recap, the big difference between the two, one is allowing us to leverage a data warehouse. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of a data warehouse. You may have, you may not have, but our data warehouse at Jet is different because it's pre-built. It's pre-built for Dynamics. It comes out of the box day one and installs in 2 hours. And so in addition to everything you've seen so far, you're going to get some of the additional functionality available by leveraging an analytic solution like Jet Enterprise. So that would be dashboards. For some people, dashboards is kind of one of the key factors in wanting to evaluate something above and beyond Management Reporter. Anybody using Power BI today, right? We integrate very tightly with Power BI. I mean, we're really built for Microsoft technology. So this dashboard here, I mean, we built this in maybe 5 minutes, but it gives me key performance indicators, right? It gives me those 3 or 4 numbers for that specific area of my business that now I can view on any device that connects to the internet and slice and dice the information however I want. So in this case, maybe I'm managing like these 4 salespeople, and I want to see how they're performing. And then I could zoom in to this dashboard to see how they're performing and swipe through it like a finger kind of on tile. So we're seeing our top items by profit. We're seeing how our salespeople are doing and what categories are doing the best, right? And so great examples of what are called key performance indicators. We obviously want to kind of separate what's called a key performance indicator versus a metric, right? And so a metric, what it's doing is it's allowing us to dive deeper into our business and analyze what's actually happening kind of behind the curtain. A key performance indicator is more of a top level, almost like a performance tile. It says, how are we doing here? How are we doing over here? And maybe there's 5 or 6 numbers that are the most important to your business. And maybe to get to that place, it actually requires me to go to other systems, or I actually have like a CRM system or a website that's containing information that's very, very relevant, that if I could tap into that, I would add tremendous value in both generating revenue and saving costs. That's what Enterprise brings to the table, is pre-built for Dynamics, installs in 2 hours. And the reason that's important for you, again, your investment's safe with us, right? You've already made an investment into a Dynamics platform. We've installed about 1 of these per day since 2011. And so we've gotten really good at it. So that's why it installs in 2 hours. But we also customize the information 5 times faster than the industry average. And that's from Gartner. That's who says that. So just know, day 1, lots and lots of value, right? It installs in 2 hours. But the risk that typically comes with a BI implementation is having a conversation about a KPI or about a performance indicator, and maybe your business is seasonal. So as we get into that deliverable phase where we're evaluating a dashboard, it actually is not quite as relevant as it was. And so getting BI 5 times faster than traditional methodology can really cut down the risk and dramatically increase the reward of investing in a solution like this. So I'm going to show you, I'm more of a proponent, let me see what it is that you're talking about. We'll come back to this in a second, but I'm actually going to open up a new worksheet, and I'm going to show you basically what it looks like to, instead of connecting live, basically connecting direct to GP, I'm going to connect to a cube. And basically this cube, I'll use a pivot table so you can see it better. So there's 7 cubes that come out of the box day 1. There's finance, inventory, manufacturing, payables, purchase, receivables, and sales. Okay. These are all come out of the box day 1. They integrate with Excel. They integrate with what I just showed you in the web, that web portal. It also integrates with Power BI. So again, if you're using Power BI or you like Power BI, this is a tremendous complement to that product. But I'm just going to click the sales cube because I know there's plenty of data in here. And just to show you basically what this is, a cube, if you've never seen it before, is actually made up of 2 kind of pieces. One is a measure. A measure is simply numerical values. So whether it's sales or costs or profit. So that's one piece. The other piece of a cube is dimensionality. So dimensionality can be really what brings the both relevance and context to those numerical values. So date range, items, locations, companies, things of that nature. So if I wanted to see, I don't know, maybe I want to see some sort of complex report where I see sales by item, and I want to see it by category, and then also by region, and I want to see that information spread out over time. I want to see that year over year. I'd also like to be able to slice it by salesperson. So I want to see what salespeople are responsible for this, as well as what companies and locations are responsible for this. I mean, it sounds like a mouthful, right? And in a typical reporting environment, yeah, it can be a little bit of work to get there. That's really the power of what Enterprise does when we're using these cubes, is now I can just click what I want. So I said sales cost. Let's bring in the profit as well. So 80 million in profit. This is a great example of just having numerical values. So we want to bring context to it. So we'll grab our items and our year over year. So you can see I've clicked 6 boxes. I mean, we have a fully functional sales report. I could drill into this data however I want. I'm already at the item level. If you notice, we're not waiting for things to refresh. The performance increase is pretty tremendous. And again, it's easy. Like, as an end user, I don't have to know how profit was calculated. That was agreed upon corporately. I just click the box, right? And now I can also add, I was saying I want to see salesperson, right? Or location, something like that. And then if you wanted to, some people do prefer the visuals in Excel. You can absolutely do that. So if you wanted to add any kind of visual here, right? And then slice the data however you want. So again, maybe we just manage for these folks. So again, I mean, basically we're starting to create a dashboard, but again, I mean, that was the quickest part of the entire demonstration, and you definitely got the most robust report that we built so far. So just know that's really the big difference between Jet Enterprise and really anything else out there. So with that being said, I'm going to go to a little bit of a recap, and then I want to open it up for questions. So I'm going to open up the PowerPoint here. So here's our commitment to Dynamics. So we talked a little bit about kind of our partnership with Microsoft. What I want you to know is kind of what's coming. So we've been plumbing for the cloud since 2011, and that's based on the partnership with Microsoft. I mean, we're ready for it, right? Basically, the Management Reporter announcement came with a partnership with Jet at Amplify to help improve some of those existing reporting solutions for GP. A couple of years ago, we delivered the Jet Hub, which is the web portal. And now here coming in the fall, we're actually going to have a full budgeting solution that's cloud-based, and it's going to integrate with our tools. And so just know that's coming. We're committed. Like, we're not going anywhere. Jet Professional, basically that's anything that we would call real-time reporting, and that includes the scheduler, the drill down, the ability to share reports in the web portal, all the flexibility of pulling from any table, field, or view like that browser was doing. That's included in Jet Professional. Great tool. It's how we got started as a company, and it's stronger than ever. It really is. Jet Enterprise is really what we finished on today for my part of the presentation. Just think of it as an analytics tool. The value adds to you are multiple data sources, low cost of ownership because of how fast we can actually build BI, and the elimination of the need to understand the underlying data structure of your data silos, whether it's a Dynamics product or another system that's out there. That's really what Jet Enterprise is doing, is just faster, easier, and more robust, quite frankly. So that's kind of a recap. I did want to kind of invite Eric back into the conversation and just thank you again.
So I want to thank all of you for taking time out of your day this morning to attend our webinar, and look forward to hearing from you with any questions you may have. Thank you.